Hey everyone, welcome back to American Perspective with Patriot Mom 007. That's me, Noél Roberts, here in Arizona. It is it's kind of an overcast Friday today. We like it like this. It's kind of in the 90s, so it keeps it nice and cool and beautiful. It is Friday, March 28th, and as usual, living in America these days it's like it's a rebirth, right? Every day is a new day. There's so much happening. It's honestly so hard to even keep track of. That's why doing a recap with you all every Friday helps me keep up to date. And if you haven't been able to share with other people what's been going on, because not everybody has time to keep track, now's a good time to remember to share this out and let people know that they can get their news sources from all different avenues now. And thank you, President Trump, for starting up free speech once again in America, as we've been noticing through the press briefings every week, which we do at the end of the show. So, with that and so much news, we are going to we just have a couple little stories I like to share. The first one we're going to
It was
bring
another
up
very busy week here at the Trump.
is, yep, Harry and Meghan. And they so they're leaving. Apparently they want to leave and they're not happy about President Trump being here for 4 years. So we wish them well. And I think my guest actually, I don't know if she knows them or not, but we're going to find out because I have a great guest on today. If you guys haven't been paying attention. And so we're going to bring her up in a minute after one more news story because we did start a couple of minutes late. So I don't get extra talk time, but that's okay because Jasmine Crockett, I brought her up 5 shows ago when I started doing this in the afternoons on Friday, and I didn't know her last name, Jasmine Crockett. So now I know, Congressman out of Texas. So she is an interesting character, right? She's the new AOC, and I guess of the South. And so she is trying to make a name for herself, and she is taking some interesting avenues for sure. So let's hear from her.
Streets, honey. Um, y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot ass mess, honey. So yes. And because we in these
Wow.
hot ass
So,
Texas streets.
yeah, that, I mean, it doesn't take a lot of narration on that one. First of all, the cursing, I don't know when they thought it was okay to start cursing out loud on a regular basis. When they're trying to, talk to the next generation, like that is just so disrespectful to so many people. And then to disparage somebody, who has overcome the disability that happened to him tragically so many years ago, and to disparage that is just awful from a human being perspective. So can't really say enough about that. And she's a congresswoman. So that's disappointing, Texas. You guys really need to pay attention with these next elections. Everyone, there's always a cycle. We have to always pay attention to who you're putting in office and who's representing you. And she is not a good representation, I don't think, I hope not, of the future of America in government. So, yeah, Jasmine Crockett, I know your name now. I know exactly who you are, and you are not doing us any favors. Let me just say that. So, hopefully, Texas, you guys will get it together. But with that, I mean, we we have an amazing guest today. And I've known this gal lady for a little while now. She's just a delight when I met her. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But Dr. Jan Halper-Hayes, she is, you might know her as a renowned political psychologist, and she was a former advisor to Donald Trump's transition team. She's also, she's appeared on many networks. She lives across the pond sometimes, and here too, I think. She travels actually quite a bit. So, but BBC and NPR, you might have seen her there. And she's also a best-selling author. So, I mean, there's so much to Dr. Jan Halper-Hayes. We just want to bring her on. Let's welcome my friend and amazing person all around, Dr. Jan Halper-Hayes. come on in and let's unmute her for sure. And there she is. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Very good. How are you, my friend?
Fine, thank you.
You
You
look
know,
so lovely.
thank you. It's interesting that you brought up Jasmine Crockett. I would encourage everyone to go on X to Megyn Kelly. She did something with
Okay.
these four guys that do a podcast that I can't remember the name of, but she said, I am going to show you four women, and I want you to decide who gets the Academy Award in how they have changed. And when Jasmine Crockett was first elected, she didn't have her fake eyelashes, she didn't have her extra wig or anything else. And she was so sweet. And then she has turned into a really vile mouth person trying to compete with AOC, although AOC is now under Bernie's wing. So that has helped AOC a bit. But there's only one thing where I have a little different perspective than what you said. I think she's great for us. I love the fact that she's carrying on the way she is because
Mm,
it is one more Democrat that is just clueless and thinks by carrying on in the most vulgar way to
right.
have called him Hot Wheels.
I know.
And,
I didn't
you know,
even want to repeat that. Like, I know, see, I almost hate giving credibility whatsoever to these people that are so disrespectful of so many others. Yet, of course, we have to, but it's hard for me to repeat in good conscience that like that. It hurts my heart when I hear people say these things. It honestly really bothers me to realize out loud in real time that these younger adults, younger than us for sure, are this hateful towards other people. It is very disturbing. It's disturbing. I think that's the
well,
word.
it is. And what people might not be aware of is that when the governor was 26 years old, a tree fell on him and made him a paraplegic.
Yes.
He has been reelected and reelected. Now, some people have had issues with him because they think he's kind of a rhino. But the fact is that the people from Texas are still happy with him.
That's right.
And it was a tragedy. And
That's
you
right.
don't highlight someone's tragedy for your own benefit to be cute and call someone a name. You know,
Right.
it's much different than little Marco or, the way Trump does it. But that that
Well, yeah.
really cut to the core.
Right. She's being malicious and cruel and disparaging towards him as a person for something, that he had no control over. Trump, although President Trump, love you, but I do not always agree with the cutesy name calling. I'm just going to say it is cute. I know we all chuckle about it and you've become friends with many people. I get it. It's an evolving thing for you. And I know it's not malicious, but sometimes I also feel like you could just rise above it. But having said
I
that,
I
nobody's
agree.
perfect. Nobody's perfect. Greg
Uh,
Abbott's not perfect either, right? Like none of these
right,
people are perfect. And that's what we just have to recognize but we also have to recognize imperfections should not allow for being mean towards others. You can be imperfect and not be a horrible person toward your fellow
right,
man. So I think, yeah, I mean, you're right. We are glad that she is showing who she is out loud and proud. And they should reclaim that. You guys are being loud and proud and not in a good way, right? So keep
right.
it up, I guess. Keep up the good work. And thank you guys. Thank you guys. I guess the way Dr. Jan explained it to me, it's a whole new perspective. See here on American Perspective. Now you're going to remember my show name, right? American Perspective. So
Yep,
she didn't, so she mentioned the other show, those four guys, and she couldn't remember the show name. So now what's my show name? American Perspective, right? So you got mine.
exactly,
And you're in
exactly.
the UK, so now you're not going to forget it. So I'm glad you guys are all tuned in today to American Perspective, because are you coming to us from here or over there in the UK today?
Just frozen.
Oh, you're probably over there then.
No, I'm absolutely here
Oh,
in DC.
so our internet is still spotty in 2025 in Washington, D.C. That's so strange to me. You think that Elon Musk, this is your next task, is actual real internet capabilities in America everywhere, like the
Well,
metropolitan cities.
Starlink.
Yes, something.
He's offering Starlink at $10, um, and unlimited. So I'm seriously thinking about
Well,
that
he didn't
because
do that yet, I don't think, right? I think they were just discussing that. I don't think it really came out yet as I think it's a potential thought process.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I use oh gosh, you know what? I actually have it right. Hold on a second. Here, hold on, cut away from me. Give me a second. I'll be right back. Put it on Jan.
Okay.
Hold on. I'll show you. I'll show you this here. Hold on. And then I've got something to show you. So this is what, okay. So while I was grabbing that, bring me back now. And then so this love baby pod I've been using since last year at the independent convention in Denver. And it's very, very much like Starlink. They actually utilize some of that technology and some of that system. And it runs on a mesh system. You really would have to listen. They have every Wednesday, they have a call. You can talk to some of the people who are involved with the company and really get the detailed information. Anyway, it's only $48 a month for unlimited service. And that's in America, but they have it in the UK and other countries as well, very reasonably priced, and it's only $199 to buy. So there's that as an option. But you're right, Elon Musk is probably going to come out with something substantial, I would think. And I welcome that, because you shouldn't be in Washington, D.C., in our nation's capital, and have spotty internet inside of a building. I mean, that just doesn't seem very technologically
Well,
advanced for our
uh,
country.
I've found ways to cope with it. When I'm in my office here, it's even worse. So I've been going to different rooms to figure out. And yesterday I did CNN International, and fortunately enough, it worked. But
See, don't you
there's
think
always
that's
that.
strange that we have maybe not working internet in 2025 and we're just brought people back from, from the spaceship? I mean, you'd think that our internet would be pretty spot on these days. It's just surprising to me that it's that spotty still in this day and age. Just saying.
I don't understand
That
it.
doesn't make sense to
I
me. That
used
doesn't
to
make
know
sense.
that they ran cables in the ground, but now
Yeah.
I think we're hooked to a satellite.
I mean, they
I
talk to
don't
people in
understand it.
actual space, like from here. Like we can't get a signal out of the building in Washington, D.C., like to come on a live stream. I don't know. I'm just saying, if you talk to anybody in the administration currently, I would just mention that that might be high on their agenda, because this is a real thing that affects people, and it slows down the capability for people to do smooth business transactions, even while in the confines of our country, which he is trying to, bolster and foster that
Right.
environment.
Well,
So tell
let's
somebody
talk
about
Doge.
that. Well, yeah.
Let's
So,
talk
well,
Doge.
I wanted to bring up before we go deep. Hey, Robert, can you bring up real quick? I want to remind Jan for sure. Oh, number 3. Do you have that? I was going to show you. So when we met, do you remember where we were? Do you remember meeting? It was so we
Yeah,
were
I
in
remember we were in Texas.
we were in Texas. Do you have
10
there we
and a
go.
half
That
hours for me to get there.
That
Yes, I
yes,
do
that was
remember.
our way back. Remember, stopped at that great Mexican restaurant with all those
Oh,
everybody
yes.
and
And
that was
no one believed I could eat that.
She had a rack of ribs when she flew in the day from the UK to Texas. We were at the Take Our Border Back in Dripping Springs, was one of the co-founders last year. And Dr. Jan came in graciously from abroad to speak before President Trump shut the border down, of course, while Biden had it wide open during that time. And our initiative was to bring light to it and recognition to what was happening from the administration and the Biden's wide open border policy. And Dr. Jan came over. Anyway, that was a lovely thought that I just had of meeting you. And then we didn't see each other for since then. And then in DC, I was there for the inauguration weekend, and we just kind of haphazardly connected. I'm not even sure if I reached out. I don't even know. But we got together for lunch,
Oh,
and
we had a great brunch
beautiful, beautiful restaurant.
with
You invited us.
$2.99 margaritas.
Yeah, I wasn't really. I didn't know that. Interesting. Maybe I should have had a couple. I don't recall. But no, it was a lovely day. It was a really lovely day. So that was really fun. I just wanted to take a walk down our memory lane since we don't talk that often or see each other, whether you're here or the East Coast or abroad. But but yeah, so just having said that, it's I really thank you for coming on today and taking your time. I really do
Oh,
appreciate it.
well, I've always enjoyed my time with you.
Well, that's I you.
When
So
you have a meeting of the minds, it doesn't matter how often you talk, how often you see each other,
that's right.
because the meeting of the minds is there, and you just
That's
pick
right.
up where you left off.
It's right. You're like my Obi-Wan Kenobi. I don't know if I'm Princess Leia or Luke Skywalker, but you're the wise one. So yes, I would love to be one like-minded. That would be excellent for me, definitely. If you could just give me all your extra knowledge down through osmosis while we're on the phone calls. Maybe Elon, work on the connectivity too. Let's get that going. Let's get that Neuralink going where people can just like pass on amazing qualities and knowledge to other people, just like that. So that's also why I appreciate having Dr. Jan on, because she's going to give us some really cool information about what's happening today. We were just bringing up Doge. They're worried about, let's talk about in this way. There's so much about Doge, just the sheer magnitude of their savings, amazing. But now, of course, they're trying to stifle them and stop them from rooting out the corruption and waste and fraud and abuse that he keeps finding. And they're saying they claim it works against the data, the breach, right, for access to our data, which is already everywhere. And so let's talk about it from just even that perspective and tell me where you think this is going to go in the courts and that sort of scenario that we're dealing with right now, that they're trying to stop him.
Well, I don't think we have to really worry much about the courts. Bill Barr, who many of us have been unhappy with, has come out. He did an interview, a 10-minute interview on Fox that I would encourage people to look up, because in that 10-minute interview, he must have said 7 times that Trump is right. He defended Trump. He went against the district judges. He said that they have no standing. And it's really important that that kind of information is coming out. Plus, the fact is, I love that Pam Bondi said, we're not going to listen to that judge. And the judge that wanted to keep the Venezuelan immigrants, illegal aliens here, he was on the FISA court. He's the one that actually had approved all of the illegal FISA searches during the Russia hoax. So they are so aware of it. And the one thing about Trump is that he didn't decide what to do on the day he was inaugurated. He had been planning. And another interview that I would encourage people to listen to is Tucker Carlson interviewing Russ Vought. Russ Vought is head of OMB. And Office of Management and Budget. But he explains how over the 4 years, he researched and read and figured out how to circumvent legally the things that they had been doing that had either sabotaged or put roadblocks in for Trump. And we're seeing that it works.
Right.
You know, it's happening so fast that we almost can't keep up with it. But at the same time, it's very exciting because it's changes every day.
Right.
And speaking of change, uh, one of the reasons the Democrats don't like what's going on is that this is their funding. The fraud and the corruptness was funding them, all of their activities. And I don't know what the the two teacher unions are going to do, because now they don't have the power to influence policy anymore, because they're going to have to work on a state level. And
Right.
that to me is pretty exciting, because I think they've dumbed down our country enormously.
I mean, they definitely have. I mean, it's really amazing to see really what they were allowed to get to. And I mean, I know some people were paying attention, but I hate to say it because not to diminish the efforts of some, but not enough people were paying attention, and we let it degrade to a very sad state that I have people telling me week 3, well, egg prices are still down, like he promised to, lower them. And I was like, listen, politely, of course, I said this, just give him a month or 3. I mean, he's unraveling 4 years plus Obama years too, right? I mean, this is like 16 years past his previous 4. So it's like, give him a minute. And now we are month 3 and egg prices are going down, and he's stabilizing everything.
Well,
So, I mean,
yesterday,
takes a
yesterday
second,
he declassified Crossfire Hurricane.
right?
Today, he filed a multi-million dollar civic suit against all of them that are involved. Now,
Civil suit.
what is key about that lawsuit is the discovery. And the thing is that all the evidence is there, but now he's going to be able to legally get all of it and expose them, which might lead to criminal. But the fact that he's going to do it through the civil court and
Right.
bring every one of them
Right.
into that
Right.
lawsuit,
That's
they
right.
can't deny anything. They
That's
won't be
right.
able to, because they've already stated where they're at, where they were at, what they believed. And we might finally get Obama.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say let's not hold our breath just because we know how these things work. And although he's making those maneuvers legally, as he always does, unfortunately, that's only half the side of the coin of our justice system at this time. And since he's not able to fix all of it at once, we may not see fruition exactly like that in 4 years. However, I do think that we will certainly, if not have gotten to that end road, ideally, we will certainly be on a very far path to getting to that end road with the next set of elections in,
Well,
26 and
there are a
24.
couple of things there, because I'm actually very encouraged by it. Because when you think of the multi-million dollar suits he filed against CBS and 60 Minutes, and how quickly those were settled.
Exactly.
All right.
And
So
he was the winner in all of those suits. So,
exactly. And so
yes.
I don't think that we have to wait 4 years for this to come out, because it goes in the civil court. But the other thing is, I am sure they are quote unquote judge shopping. When I was the global VP of Republicans overseas, the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act came into play, and we filed a suit to take it all the way to the Supreme Court. We made sure that we judge shopped And we wanted to make sure we went to the Fifth District Court because we knew that those judges would then keep on moving it forward to
Right.
then get to the appellate court and get to the Supreme Court. So I would imagine that they judge shopped, they filed it in the right places, and we are going to see movement.
So, I mean, no one side is immune from this tactic, I guess. Everybody uses the tools in the toolbox, and unfortunately, that sounds like that's what the judge shopping thing is one of the available tools. We might want to look at that rule and maybe do something about that, since we have, all
It's
the
not a
bodies.
rule. It's not a rule. It's what people do. It is literally, if they're going to bring a case.
So,
and
but it's
they
not
want
against the law. There's
No,
then they're not
it's
doing
not against
anything
the law.
illegal. It's just immoral.
Well, it's not even necessarily immoral. You're
Unfair?
not going to bring the case to a Boasberg
Right.
judge in DC.
But
But
isn't there
if
such a thing as jurisdictional, availability to, you have to have jurisdiction to take a case on any level, federal to city, to
exactly,
county.
and you
So,
make and you let me just explain, and you make sure that the plaintiffs would have standing in that district, and you make sure that you've got the right judges so that standing does exist. Well, standing will
does
exist,
seem-
or the
right.
people that you are filing the case against could come under that district.
But my understanding is
well.
Boasberg doesn't have jurisdictional,
Well, he does. He does over
availability.
DC and the federal government. I mean, basically, these district judges don't really have the authority to supersede the executive branch.
And then
They
what
are
about the
trying
fact
to
that
do that.
and what about the fact that he keeps catching these cases? What about isn't there a natural 6-month rotation, year and a half rotation in federal? They have it out here in Arizona. Our judges rotate. Nobody
I
stays
have
on.
no idea about that. I just know,
That seems
again, the
interesting.
people that are filing the suits, they purposely are going to certain judges. Yes,
Right.
cases we think get rotated, but his case in New York, how did he end up with that judge who never should have
I
been
knew it
assigned
seems
to it?
oddly, weirdly coincidental. And after there's so many coincidences, it seems more of a plan than all coincidences constantly lining up. I mean, I
No
suppose
coincidences.
no coincidences.
Coincidences don't exist.
That's
No.
exactly my point. So you made my point for me exactly. So it seems as much as he is able to do, unfortunately, there are forces already in place, I think, that are going to be actively working against him. So this is going to be a bigger uphill battle than it would be otherwise. So we're going to have to keep President Trump in our prayers for that factor, because the forces are working against him full force. So we're gonna.
But let me bring in another positive. If you look at Project 2025, what they did was not just governing from a conservative standpoint. They actually looked at the different procedures and policies that people had been using, but that there were other ways to either work around, or like the Alien Enemy Act, that going on. And Bill Barr said it's absolutely legal.
And I was going to ask you about that. That brought me to my other question about the deportations in the Alien Enemies Act that he's pulled out of our toolbox, right? They used some of the oldest rules in the book when they had the ability to do so against President Trump, then not president, when they were attacking him full mode in the justice system and the DOJ. And so for him to pull out the Alien Enemies Act, is there some gray area? Maybe. What law doesn't have gray area?
No, there's no gray area in
So
that.
even more to the point of how it should be able to be utilized now, and what are we hoping? The Supreme Court is going to, rule properly with what's been going on here and there within that
Well,
body?
when you think about it, again, Project 2025, they knew that they were going to use the Alien Enemies Act to deal with it because, yes, so it hadn't been used for I don't know how many decades or centuries, but it didn't matter because it would hold up. And there really hasn't been a lot of flack against that. It's that, oh, you can't deport this person or whatever. Um, but they have thought through. The other thing is that Trump asked Kristi Noem and Pete Hegseth to do research on deploying the Insurrection Act. And that hasn't been decided at all, but he's asked them to look into it. And the key part about that, Noél, is the fact that we were all saying, when's the military going to come out? When's the military going to come out? Well, we couldn't just bring the military out as
Right.
martial law, but he enacted the Alien Enemies Act so the military could take care of specific things. There are other laws in the book that the things that we've been waiting for, we just have to be patient because it's going to unroll and we're going to see those things eventually happen in specific ways so that whatever anyone wants to criticize him for, he knows that he can stand strong on his positions.
That's right. Yeah, I definitely believe that President Trump does not make, accidental decisions. Certainly not this time around with the solid team he has surrounded himself with. The first time, I think he just didn't have all the information necessary to make those best decisions for his own protection. But this time, I think he's, older and wiser, as they say, and 4 years makes a difference for everybody. So he's definitely gained in that respect, thank heavens for us. And so I too believe that things are going to be upheld because there is the law, and ultimately the highest court in the land, who is the biggest rule followers of all of the courts, and should be to the letter, right, of the law and the Constitution in this case. So let's see our true constitutionalists, who that's your whole life's work, that's what you're actually all about. So I look forward to all of these decisions because it seems like if they're doing their job, it's an easy call, even from this side of the bench.
Well, I also think it's really important for us to follow it and look at the actions and seeing how they're making things work. I've been asked a lot prior in sort of in the past year before he got reelected was why did he fire so many people? Here was the thing. One, he was new to government. He took advice from people who to put in the positions. But the good thing about Trump is when he discovered that they couldn't deliver or wouldn't deliver in the way he wanted, he got rid of them. The other part of bringing in a Gary Cohn and other people like that who are globalists, right. How else could he understand the way they think and what they were doing,
right,
to develop the counter plan?
It's
so
true.
He's so strategic. He thinks 5 levels. He thinks like 10 steps ahead.
Right. They play checkers. He plays chess at the highest level, right? Yeah,
Yes.
the top world. He probably could play. I wonder if he could play chess at that level. I mean, he sets all the other records. We might as well put it, if we have a suggestion box at the White House, which is my suggestion to the White House, have a suggestion box, somehow filter out the nonsense.
I'm Department of Defense. I don't really have connections there.
Come on, we need we need an American suggestion box, and then we'll throw in, and you guys sort through the best ones and get the whole nation working for you. There'll be bad ideas, but there'll be good ideas too.
Literally on X, Elon Musk asks for suggestions regularly.
That's right. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up.
Now Robert Kennedy Jr. is asking as well.
I saw that.
They want to hear from us. So get your voice heard.
That's right. And I don't use X as much as I should. I'm trying to transition. It was just wasn't my first platform. So it was my last actually, just like a year or two ago. So I'm trying to get on board because I was censored, oddly enough. I thought that's so weird that I'd be censored. I didn't say anything very, inflammatory ever. But nonetheless, it was still happening a little bit, but I noticed that X has been slowly cleaning it up more and more. And so I am trying to utilize the best platforms that do offer the most free speech these days, because they are trying to actively work on that, right? With bringing new reporters into the press briefings now and opening this up to smaller voices like they've done. I think they're really helping, to get that messaging out.
Yeah, I mean, even Piers Morgan in the UK, he had Benny Johnson on. So,
Yeah, that's pretty far
and
reaching.
Charlie Kirk has been on. I mean, these people have really worked hard to establish themselves and are very credible voices.
That's
And
right.
that is a great show for the success of citizen journalists.
That's right. That's right. And it does take a village, right, to run the country. Nothing happens. We're all the little spokes in the wheels all over the nation. So we should be interconnecting certainly at all times or as often as possible, right? Because
Exactly.
and sharing each other's information out because everybody knows somebody different. And we're never going to all know everyone. So we might as well keep trying by pushing all the information out. And counterbalancing what they've been doing all these years successfully, I will add. Congratulations, Democrats. Your messaging has been on point and highly effective in all areas of life, including our children in school. So we are going to reverse that now. But to do that, we have to be as diligent and nonstop working hard to make it happen as they were all these years. And that just means all the people going to all the platforms because it just helps that happen so much faster, right? If we work together. And I think that's the
Well,
bottom line.
how about if we look at it that the Democrats haven't been successful? You could say they've been successful in being destructive. They have been successful in brainwashing, but that success has been dwindling away in the past 4 years. And
Right.
so they aren't successful, and more and more people are awake. And that's what we're most concerned about. And I can tell you, 20 to 30%, I have no faith that they will wake up. They
Right.
don't think for themselves. They will follow the mainstream media or the
Right.
science or an authority. But we have done an enormous we have had an enormous impact on changing the narrative.
That's right. I could not agree more. And I love that this is the one mind you must have been talking about. I feel like the osmosis Obi-Wan is happening. Like I was giving my devil's advocate and you immediately had my perfect counterpoint, but I knew you'd say it so much better than I could. So I love playing that other side of it, of the coin, because you're the side that you dispense is so much easier, I think, for everybody to understand because some of this is new to people, right? It's new 4 years to me. I was raising kids for 20 years and didn't have time to pay attention to all of this national and international information that affects our lives daily. And then here we are, mid-century, and you're wondering what's going on with your country. And then you realize you have to get involved somehow at your local level as a precinct committeeman, a state committeeman, city council, school boards, however you want to do it. And you have to do it by educating yourself, by listening to people like Dr. Jan Halper-Hayes and finding the resources she mentioned, earlier on the Tucker Show and some of these other shows. And I know that if you go to her Substack, at Dr. Jan, it's drjan.substack.com. And actually, everything's right down at the bottom of the screen, the entire show, you guys, we've had her information up there. So I know you'll be able to connect easily. You need to find the resources, right, to understand what's happening, because this is our country and we do need to work to take it back as they worked to gain the ground that they did. But in that respect, I did want to touch too, also with the Department of Education that just happened this last week. You know, they called it a photo op. He didn't really put the hammer down, which is understandable. You know, these things do take time. And so now wasn't forceful enough apparently for them. But nonetheless,
Wait, I'm sorry.
the,
Sorry, I'm not following you.
the Department of
That,
Education, yeah, they're saying, you know, how
yeah,
they
he signed the
criticize him.
executive order and what's her name?
Linda
The
McMahon.
secretary
Linda McMahon.
McMahon.
Mm-hmm.
She's working on disassembling it.
Right,
So
but
are
the
you telling
criticism,
me
no,
not so?
no, but the criticism from the other side, well, I mean, this is what he did, but what they're saying is that it was just a photo op. He didn't really do anything meaningful as he said he was going to, and that. So now they were basically complaining, reverse psychologying themselves, complaining then that he hadn't been firm enough. But in fact, he is doing what he said, and he is
He signed the
looking,
executive order,
yes, at all the
and
departments and cutting
Secretary
things.
McMahon is
Yes,
taking action.
right,
She's
right.
taking
For
action.
the
And the thing is
wastefulness,
that
right? The wastefulness and the fraud. They're looking at specifically the negatives dragging the department down, and all the extra fraud and the payments being directed. So that's what they're looking at. People wonder, oh, they're going to cut the Department of Education and kids can't go to school. No, just to be clear, I just want to make that distinction because there's a lot of people who think that. And we always want to make sure that they understand that it's the opposite of what they say. So go ahead, Jan, the opposite.
actually, what I was going to say is that they're not really looking at fraud and waste. They're looking at giving the money to the states and not having the federal government having control over education. Right. The other departments are really looking more at fraud and waste and corruption. But what's really important to understand is that they are weakening the power of the two teachers associations, that 96% of teachers are Democrats. That money that they collected in billions through the dues of the teachers, right, was given to the Democrat Party. That is going to slowly dry up. And the money that they used on a federal level, they will now have to disperse their efforts state by state. So it has totally cut their power.
That is amazing. So when people claim he's not doing anything effectively and with thought, that would dispel all of those misnomers. And he is, in fact, making sure that everything's being done exactly to perfection for the benefit of multiple levels, right? Of our whole system.
Whatever they say negatively, I tell people, don't pay attention to it, or just know that they're not focusing on the crux of the issue. They are using fear porn. They are using character assassination,
right?
And it doesn't have credence.
Exactly.
I don't even like talking about that, other than the fact that they came out and said this, but you know what that really means? It means this. And that's how you have to look at it and decipher it.
Right.
You know, literally, you have to connect the dots. And literally what Democrats do is they have a knee-jerk emotional reaction to whatever is happening. And we can't be in that place or even respond to what they come up with, because it has no basis in reality.
Exactly. No, I mean, I couldn't, hold on, I'm just doing a little quick adjustment back here. I could not agree with you more. And it's quite something to see what they're having the efforts they're having to do here in the first 3 months is actually it's like Kilimanjaro, right? Like it's a pretty big task. And the fact that they're doing it simultaneously, I do have people that write me on social media, and they say, what has he done for us lately? Like all these promises, no deliveries. And I just think they're clearly not the other two other news channels that are still somehow on TV. They are still listening to just that source. And, I try to politely tell them that this is actually happening and these are the facts, and source them with information that they can go look up for themselves. They don't have to just listen to what people say. You can actually use the internet for your good and resource everything and just read about it on your own. I highly encourage that, actually, with more people. And so I mean, he is getting it done. I mean, what he's done in the first 3 months is amazing. It's only going to get better from here. And I know that, of all people. I know that. And having been, a previous advisor to him in that transition. And, is that something, do you think, we haven't even talked about it. I didn't get a chance to chat with you before, but do you think that, are you leaning back into that area of work potentially down the
Well,
road here?
a general wants me to work for him, and I would work for him, but he has to go through the confirmation process. So that's all I can say about that. If he's confirmed, I'll go full time at the Department of Defense.
Okay. Oh, that sounds interesting to know. If that happens, I hope you'll let us know so you'll come back on and share with us what's going
Oh, of
on.
course.
Oh my
Of
gosh. Well, that would
course.
be amazing to have that firsthand account. If we'll hope that the best happens, whatever that is, whatever that may be. We'll hope for that.
I love the task force I'm on. I mean, I really love it. I love what I get to look at. I have an incredible amount of freedom. And so either way, I'm still on the task force at the
Right?
Department of Defense, or I move back to the States and work full time.
Okay.
People
Wow.
say, "Oh, can't you commute?" I said, "No, he doesn't let you work from home anymore."
Right. Yeah. Hey, listen, he's working every day in his office. Everybody should be in the office, right? Like if you can be, you
Exactly.
should be. It fosters community networking, productivity. Some would say not, but others would say yes. So you got to err on the other positives, which is all of the other things I mentioned. And so it's good to be in the office. It really is, ideas are bantered around, not just on the internet, but actually between people. So you got to keep that connectivity going for sure these days, right? Before they strip us of all of that. And we're just in goggles walking around with virtual reality, hoping we don't bump into the, light pole. Because we've got virtual reality goggles on all the time. But Jan, you are definitely around. I mean, everybody can find you on X, definitely, right, at biz_shrink. It's underneath right here too, written. You can find her there. Are you on Facebook and Instagram? I have it up there, but I wasn't sure.
You know, I don't have time for that. Yes, you can find me, but I'm more on LinkedIn of
Right, right.
putting anything important. In fact,
Okay.
I'm going to put an interview I did with a former deputy chief of the Middleburg Police Department in Tennessee, who uncovered an enormous amount of fraud. And what would be good about that is it explains in detail the different connections and how the fraud happens and who's involved, and the players from judges and district attorneys and business owners and politicians. One example that he uncovered was that Bob Corker, the former senator from Tennessee, had agreed with Obama to not object to Obama giving them all that money if Obama would appoint the choice person for the Southern District Court. And the amount of fraud and embezzlement that went on helps people understand the details of really what Doge is uncovering.
Right.
So Now I have a hard stop. How are we doing?
We are just about out of time to we can finish our conversation because I think we got so much in. I do have to wrap the show too, so I appreciate your hard stop. And we'll just take this up another time, right? How does that sound?
To
I
be
would love
continued.
I would love to
Yes.
be
Thank you for letting
continued.
me share these things.
Of course. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming on, Jan. We'll talk soon for sure. More than every 6 months, let's say that. No promises daily, but at least more
Definitely.
than every 6 months. All right. Have a great rest of your day. You're more than welcome to listen in the back, but if you have to go, I totally understand and we'll catch up again soon.
All right. Thank you.
Take
All the
care.
best with your show, American Perspective. I will remember. Patriot
Love you. That's
Mom007.
amazing. You're
Can't remember
amazing.
the four guys, but yeah.
Well, I appreciate that so much. Have an awesome rest of your day and a great weekend coming up here. So we'll talk to you soon.
You too.
Thank you,
Take
Jan.
care. Thanks
Thanks.
for having
Bye-bye.
me.
Yes, you bet. Of course. So, wow. So that was amazing. So Jan is, she's like a little ray of sunshine, actually. If anybody out there who has been privileged enough to get to meet her in person, I didn't know who she was. Like a lot of people in this arena, I was not in it, right? I was raising kids and going to hockey and football and working, the couple jobs, that kind of stuff. So I didn't know some of these people, and to meet some of them, it really is a pleasure. She's one of those people, Dr. Jan Halper-Hayes. You can find her, like she said, on LinkedIn, and then at X at biz_shrink. We have that information up on the show. It's in the descriptions. I'm going to go back and add the LinkedIn one in so people can connect with her on her best platforms. And yeah, that was just a real privilege. So I like hearing her perspective, right, on American perspective, because it is unlike anyone else's I know. That I can say with 100% certainty. And she has information that other people may or may not have. So I definitely appreciate her sharing that with us. And we hope that if that particular general goes through the confirmations, that she will, let us know what's happening from that perspective as well, which would be amazing. I would just say that. And we talked about Doge. I'm so glad she weighed in on that. And she gives information you may or may not have heard about what they're doing or how they're doing it. And then with the Department of Education as well, right? I hadn't thought about the dues and all of that and the recycling of the money back into the DNC and all of that. I mean, maybe I'd heard about it, but it really wasn't top of mind. And I was thinking more about the corruption within the education system, harming our kids at that level. But see, these are the different perspectives, right? Because I was raising the kids in the school system, and that was my perspective. But she sees it from that back end perspective of what these agencies are doing to work subversively within our country, right? I.e., the teachers' union and the money they funnel back into the Democrat system and the Democrats holding offices. So these are things to be aware of as the votes are coming around again every couple years for all levels of government, from city, county, state to the federal level. And we always have to continually try to keep up on the information. There's always so much here in Arizona, especially, and you have to find groups. There's some people I follow out here. Leslie Shepard's one of them. She works a lot with the Board of Supervisors and, does what she thinks is the most effective way to make a difference here in Maricopa County. Not everybody agrees with it, for sure. They do other things, but at least people are trying to do something. And so less criticism and then more maybe getting on board or, expanding the ideas to be helpful. But we can't criticize those that are doing things as long as they're doing them peacefully, right? And that's the best we can hope for, is that kind of system working to the best for everybody in our country. And so we need to support that, right? So find your resources, get involved, get educated so you can be the best community member you can be. But Doge has been doing some more amazing things. I mean, here they have more savings that, it just keeps getting better and better. And these are new. I mean, 10 million for gender equity in the Mexican workplace. And I don't know if they define Mexican workplace, and I don't know if that's here or in Mexico. It is vague. For 10 million. You think they put a few more details with that. But yeah, they're just giving money away. That's just flowing out of here like it's being printed in the back press, right? Which it is. 12.2 million for worker empowerment in South America, not America, but South America. So we're not really worried about our worker empowerment. In fact, they split everybody up and they told everybody to go work alone silently in your apartment, or your house, and don't come into the office. But worker empowerment in South America is top of mind at the $12.2 million. So, wow. If they only put that energy into our country, how better off we would all be. And then elevating women's participation in the workplace in West Africa for $5 million. I mean, I'd like to head that up. I can do a lot with $5 million. And it wouldn't cost much, I don't think, to elevate their participation in the workplace, if they're even allowed to work. I don't know, West Africa. I'm not exactly sure about that society. They're not all like they are in America, just saying. Whether it's good or bad, I don't know, but that is just the way of the world. And I'm not sure how effective $5 million is for women's workplace empowerment in that region. It could be a good question, though, to find out. I'm not saying it's not valuable, but it seems over the line of prudent fiscal responsibility. Then we've got, oh, I love this one. This is perfect. 3 million to, I love the adjectives are amazing. Enhance Social Security access and worker protections for internal migrant workers in Bangladesh. So that's a mouthful for sure. I'm not sure of the Bangladeshi Social Security system at all to begin with. I'd be interested in learning about that. And that's not something I'm familiar with. I'm surprised we are. And their access, I don't know. It just seems like if you're going to put Social Security dollars out, it should be for those in America who have built this country from scratch, who are now scraping and scratching to get by every month. On the pittance that we do give them. And those are the people, out of World War II who helped build our country. So we might want to keep it in-house on that. The Bangladeshis, I'm sure they could use help in other ways, but 3 million for that seems super excessive to me. And then the other one was, 3 million for safe and inclusive work environments in Lesotho. I should have looked up where that is. I'm not sure where it is, but I know it's not here. And we definitely have some OSHA problems in America. A lot of accidents happen here in America. So, I mean, Doge, good job again this week. We appreciate all that you are doing for our country, no matter what the naysayers continue to pretend is happening. So we're going to take it right down here to the MAGA Minute because we're 3 over. And we got to hear from Caroline Levitt because she is going to nicely put in a nutshell what has been happening in America under President Trump, right? Our 47th president here now going on a couple months, right? 60 days-ish. And what he's accomplished just in the last 7. So let's bring up our MAGA Minute and see where we're at this week.
It was another very busy week here at the Trump White House. Here are the facts. President Trump invoked the Alien Enemies Act to deport illegal migrant foreign terrorists and Tren de Aragua members to El Salvador. President Trump also launched decisive and powerful military action against Houthi terrorist bases in Yemen. Companies like Boeing, Johnson & Johnson, and NVIDIA announced billions of dollars in new investments in America, which will bring thousands of new jobs to communities like yours across the country. President signed an executive order aimed at dismantling the Department of Education after decades of declining academic performance despite trillions of dollars being spent on this federal agency. NASA astronauts who were abandoned by the Biden administration were finally brought home safely thanks to President Trump and Elon Musk. President Trump also delivered on his promise to release the JFK files with no redactions for the American public's consumption. And President Trump became the first sitting president in history to address a crypto conference. And last but certainly not least, egg prices have officially fallen more than 50% since President Trump took office. Gas prices have declined nationally for the 4th straight week in a row, and we are on our way to renewing the American dream. We are not tired of winning yet. We'll see you for next week's MAGA Minute.
Well, as usual, a mouthful for anybody. Carolyn Levitt, she delivers it just precisely, concisely every Friday now. I wonder, though, if it's going to continue. I'm really curious. I mean, I feel like for 4 years, they will be able to deliver at least a solid minute nonstop talking of all the accomplishments made by President Trump through the remainder of his 4-year term. So it's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds. And the recap is very helpful because it's clearly a little bit too much to always keep up on every single situation in America. So much is happening here and abroad. But we are fortunate that in our country right now, he is working to turn around where we have been the last 4 years. And he is working as hard as possible, despite what some people tell me and they argue with me about, that he is, delivering what he said. By the way, egg prices are down. I mean, it wasn't just me saying that. They are down. And gas is down 30 cents here in Arizona, a gallon. So, things are moving in the right direction. And I don't know why everybody who's benefiting from that doesn't just say, yeah, things are going great. I just don't know why that's a bad thing. But anyway, maybe in the future, you guys will reconsider your position and realize how good you've got it right now living in America, because America is back, right? And so I just, as always, we're a little over. We're playing around with my 60-minute time frame. I don't know, it might be hard to stop somewhere. We're learning these things as we go. It's every day is a learning experience. I learned so much with Dr. Jan Halper-Hayes today. It's been a pleasure being here with you. Those of you on chat, thank you for joining me at your lunchtime, and those watching on Rumble and YouTube at Patriot_Mom007. This is American Perspective on Friday, March 28th. We're glad to have you. And always remember, you got to find your resources in your community to get the education you need, to get involved, to make a difference in your neighborhood, in your county, in your state, your city, and of course in our country, because all the villages do have to work together ultimately, right? And to make that happen, we have to know where we can best fit in and find those resources to help us do that. So I encourage you to get connected today, get on a Facebook group or anything you see in your community, and find out how you can make America even better than the one man who is actively working 24 hours a day to do that for us. We need to take a role in that as well. So thanks, you guys. Have a great weekend. We look forward to seeing you guys next week on American Perspective with Patriot Mom007. Not sure who our guest is yet, but I'm sure it's going to be another amazing person. So Robert, you can take us out.